Why do I not have no sound? Always when I go live. What I got going on here?
All right. When
Test. There we go. Good morning, everybody. This is Thomas FreeMe starting over once again. Sound issues going live with Sean Dustin and the Nowhere to Go But Up show. And this is Saturday morning elevated coast to coast. Saturday morning coast to coast elevated talk. Well, we're not elevated mentally, but elevated high.
Hi.
Ah.
All
Good
right.
morning, YouTube. Good morning, Facebook.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Good morning, everybody. From Cali, Northern California. It's been beautiful, beautiful weather last couple of days out here, so it's been nice. Trying to get over to find where to. I'm horrible at at TikTok and knowing how to do that. How do I join you?
On TikTok,
Yeah.
I'm not live on TikTok.
Oh, I thought you were.
Not yet. I can be. Hold on. I actually forgot about TikTok. So this morning's talk, we're going to be talking about Warren Buffett and his Uber sale. We'll be talking. Let's get into a little bit of abortion, man. You know, we were discussing what we were going to talk about this morning, and up came the conversation, I guess, about what DeSantis did here with abortion here in Florida, and I'm familiar with it as most of what's going on with abortion because simply it's just not part of my life, and it's not something that I've ever paid particular attention to, and I have my own opinions on that. So we get into abortion a little bit, man, and give our own opinions on that.
As two males, as two males give their
Yeah.
opinion on how we feel about abortion.
Yes. As two males, obviously.
I'm
Or maybe
identifying as
not so.
male.
I'm saying I was going to say, or maybe that's not so obvious these days. Should be. I don't
what,
know.
what what would we
I'm getting away from.
cisgendered male?
I'm
That-
stepping away from this conversation.
yeah, we're dancing on a thin rope here.
Yes.
You ever watch those guys in those straps when they're bouncing up and down? I don't even know what it's called. It's like this flat strap that they walk, and it bounces, and it's pretty kind of crazy.
No. I just
Is it
made a TikTok. I made a TikTok this morning of dating in 2023. You know what it was?
what?
It was the clip from the Crocodile Dundee movie. Remember Crocodile Dundee?
Yep. Mick Dundee.
Where he was in the bar and was approached by the trans woman, and he didn't know it. He was hitting on her, and then his buddy calls him to the side. He's like, "Man, we've been trying to tell you, man. That's not a woman. That's a man." And then he walked back up to the trans woman. She's smiling all in his face, and then he just grabbed her groin. You remember that part? That's the TikTok I just made. Dating in 2023 is like
Oh, that's funny.
you just got to do a groin check,
Cup check.
cup check.
Oh man, we before you
I'm
get in the
stepping away from this
before you
comment.
get in the,
Sean,
before
I'm
you
through
get in
with
the
this
car
conversation. Sean.
before you get in the car, please, I need to do a cup check. I don't need to
Getting away from
caress.
this conversation.
I just need to tap.
Sean, I'm through with this conversation, sir.
Yeah.
Before we get
Wait.
ourselves in trouble,
Cancel before we get ourselves canceled.
I'm telling you. So, Warren Buffett, you were telling me about this thing, man. So,
Yeah, so let me pull up I had
oh, TikTok. Let me pull it.
the actual, let me look up the so yeah, he sold like about a month ago, he sold 86% of his holdings in the Taiwan chip manufacturer TMSC, I believe it is. Hold on, let me. As usual, I'm not prepared. You know, me in preparation sometimes don't get along. Warren Buffett.
Hey man, you know what? You know what Oprah Winfrey says about preparation?
What?
Uh, opportunity plus preparation equals success.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's kind of like you got Kool-Aid, but you ain't never got sugar, or you got sugar, but you ain't never got Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? And or in the dope game, it's like I got a plug, but I ain't got the money. You know what I mean? I can't. You run
Got a
across a
thousand spoons when all you need is a knife.
yep, and so I feel a lot like that. You know what you just said is a lot like that. You know,
Right, I'm
it's just,
going.
it's putting it all together. It's putting the puzzle together. It's getting the formula. You know what I mean? That last piece to the recipe, to the thing that just sets it off, right? Or you can use this analogy. You're about to, you're playing double dutch, and you're waiting to get in. You're waiting to get in. You're waiting to get in, and it's like bam! You take your opportunity, and you just start. You're in that flow. You know, life's a lot like that. You know, a lot of us are trying to get that opportunity to get into that flow state, and it's harder than it seems.
All right, I'm live on TikTok. Where you at?
Hold on. 177.
Good morning,
Uh,
everybody. Good morning, everybody. We're live on YouTube, getting ready to have a discussion. Saturday morning elevated talk.
all
Morning.
right, I see you.
Yeah,
Accept.
there you go. You didn't accept with the camera, partner.
Oh, you sucker. There we go. Nope, didn't. Come on, damn it.
No, I think you got to disconnect and then come back in with the camera.
Crap.
That's what I have to do.
All right, hold on. Let me get out. Confirm, disconnect, come back in. Accept. Oh, why is it not letting me do the camera thing?
You got to hit the little camera.
I'm telling you, man, I am
I
TikTok
don't know.
challenged.
I don't know why it does that though. It should just
All right,
like you
so
should have to click the camera off and then click it on.
so accept.
Now look, there should be like a little camera with a line to it.
Okay, I got it. Turn it on. Go live. There we go.
Bam. All right.
All right. Dummy mode on.
We're mentally challenged this morning.
All right. All right. We're good to go. So the Warren Buffett thing. So he sold 86% of his holdings in the Taiwanese chip manufacturer, TMSC, I believe it is. Sell stock in TMSC. So let's go here. And why this is interesting is because he just purchased it like 3 months ago, and so he's notorious for being a long haul trader or holder, and when he invests in something. So why is this interesting? Well, I heard a video of him giving an account, like somebody asked him about it, and just the way that his answer to it was just really strange. It's talked about the seismic activity in the area, which that was kind of odd. Okay, you're getting rid of you're selling your position because of, like, is that a code word for something? Is there instability in the area itself, like because of the threat of war and being invaded by China? And so, I mean, there's that, or is it seismic because of activity, geologically, right? That could be a possibility too. So, and then another thing was there was a senator also that on the backside of this shorted that company stock. So the betting that they are going to fail. And so, I mean, all right, well, so you guys know something that we don't. That's really what it just goes to. Just you put it all together, and it's just doesn't smell right.
Well, it says here on the Fortune, I'm looking at the Fortune magazine article. It says that his consideration was based in the threat of war. So it says Warren Buffett says the threat of war was a consideration in his bulk sale.
And then we also have the so somebody was saying that it's out there publicly that if Taiwan or if China invades Taiwan, that we would blow up blow up the manufacturing plants and take and bring all the engineers over here, because that's really what what China would want was it is a technology, because they don't have the technology to be able to do that. And so by invading, they would hope to be able to, secure that technology and be able to prosper from it. And so the United States is like, no, we're going to blow the shit up, and then we're going to take the people, so you can't get the technology. So it's a
Well, that's a major trading route as well, right? Like
yeah,
all the
yeah,
ships. So if China controls that whole shipping lane, that would be monumental, I would think, in itself as well.
yeah, because they're so Taiwan sits right in between them from being. They have to go around it to be able to get into to their shipping lanes. So, yeah, man, I don't know, man. It's interesting.
But you was saying something earlier about stocks being shorted, being sold right before he sold.
I'm not sure if it was before he sold or not, but it just there was a short position taken by one of the senators. I don't remember which one it was. I was
By a
trying to look
senator, huh?
for it. Yeah, I was trying to look for it, but it didn't didn't come up.
Yeah, probably not.
But I heard it I heard it there was a report, because I go on Clubhouse all the time. And so, sometimes they'll link stuff that we're talking about. This one they just played the video, and I didn't see the link to it, or they took it off before I could get to it. Um so yeah, I mean, anytime, look at what Bill Gates did, with with the jab. He made all his he talked one way about it in the beginning, made all his money in the stock, and then talked a big game, and it was the best thing since sliced bread. And as soon as he made his money, and it's the bullshit starts coming out, he's out, right? And he's changed his tune on it. He now he's saying, oh, they're not good, right? They don't have efficacy. They don't have, they don't stop the spread. They don't do any of the things that they're supposed to. So, I mean, now he's down talking them. And so they all do this. It's a feature of being a billionaire, and, being in the stock market and being able to control the ebb and flow of these markets.
Yeah, and we're the generators of that. Again, this is what my podcast is about: is getting the Americans to understand that we're the generators of all of that, of these games that these billionaires play. You know, and they have us all duped, man. They have us out here working 60 hours a week to generate this money for these people to play with the way that they do. That's what's crazy.
And they have the government, and government's usually in their back pocket. So they privatize the gains, and they socialize the losses. And by socializing means the bailouts. So when they fail, we bail them out, but we don't get to, we don't get any
Yeah.
of the sweets on the way up as we bail them out, right
Well,
now.
that's the whole thing. That's the whole point is when you go to your bank, Sean, and you owe your bank $2,500, are they going to give you a bailout?
Nope.
No, they're going to hire some repo man who could care less about anybody but himself and wants to make $100, they're gonna call this guy to come rip your car out of the driveway at 4 o'clock in the morning.
And they're going to
Knowing,
charge you interest while they're at it.
man, listen, the repo man cost me more than what I owed on the car. The tow cost like $750, and I only owed like $400 on the car.
Oh,
Suncoast Credit
man.
Union. Suncoast Credit Union. They're like vultures, man. This bank, Suncoast Credit Union. Every time I was late, they're sending me notices. It's like I would see the repo man driving up and down my street. Like these people are just
And they're predatory, man, and that's why you see all these payday loans. You see all these, like, everything that's bad for society. Just go to the fucking poor community, and you're gonna see, exactly why. You know what I mean? They're being preyed on constantly because sometimes they're just not hip to the game, and sometimes they just don't have any other options.
I'm
And
telling you.
so, these people are preying on that. And I mean, it's crazy. These payday loans, like how much for the percentage it is on some of them. And even if you have bad credit, I mean, shit, you can't touch a car loan for like under 19%, 21%. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude, that's like you're paying two cars by the time you pay it off.
I'm telling you, we got a rough in the poor community, man. We got repo men circling our house. We got cops circling our house. We got CPS circling our house. I mean, we got ridiculous, man.
It is, and then if those problems aren't bad enough, you got a liquor store on every corner, so you can go and figure. You can.
We need one.
There's temptation everywhere.
We need one. Every time I look out my window, I either see a cop, CPS, or a tow truck. I need a damn drink, man.
That's how I felt about one summer I spent in San Francisco tweaking. I was dude, parking there is a mess. And so if it wasn't the parking enforcement that was ticketing me, if it wasn't them towing me or the crackheads breaking into my shit trying to steal everything, that's like, Jesus Christ, man, it's a bad idea having a car in the city.
Yeah, so I took a case yesterday. Took another case yesterday.
Case for your coming home coalition.
Yep, criminal justice review case. This is an individual in Mississippi, been incarcerated for 17 years on a murder, decapitation. Woman was decapitated, head cut off. So I spoke to the gentleman yesterday, and speaking with him, I believe him. I believe his story. But it's again just shit that goes on in the community, man, the poor community that people have no idea, no understanding of, and then they just go in and lock an individual up and forget about it. But yeah, so this was an individual, from what I understand so far, that had a lot of toxicity surrounding him, in a very volatile environment. And one day there was a knock on his door in the morning time. He went to his door and there was like a storm door. And he saw somebody on the other side of the storm door that was speaking, but he couldn't hear what the person was saying. So when he opened the door to hear them, two other people came from around the corner with guns and rushed into the house. I believe one held him up against the wall and told him, don't buck. We're not here for you. And went into his girl's room and allegedly pulled out a pistol that they knew was under her mattress, shot her twice in the head, decapitated her, told him to come and get the shell casings, the knife, and the head and throw it in a bag, which he did that. And then uh, I'm not quite sure how the body got from the bed into the bathtub. But There's a lot that happened in between that time and when the police was called. And as soon as the first officer arrived on the scene, he was handcuffed and put in the back of the car as a suspect. So this is the case that I got now.
Hmm. And so he's got, is he getting out or he's gotten out?
No, he's in prison with life.
Oh, he's got life. All right.
Yeah, in Mississippi, and this was a high profile case, and he's claiming that he's innocent. And I researched for a couple days. My co-founder researched with me. She did most of the research, and we were both on the phone yesterday, and we both said, you know what, this is something that we will review. We'll look at. So what we do is we'll take it, and from start to finish, we'll get all the documents that we can, all the court records, and just sift through it, look for it. If he's truly innocent, then that means that there was corruption in there. And if there's corruption in there, I'll find it. There's no question about that.
So you're the first step in somebody actually like taking a look further than a public defender would, and actually looking for anomalies or discrepancies, or you know what I mean, like things you make you go parts of the discovery and the whole process of how he got from A to B to C.
That's right. And it's going in with knowledge, knowing that if this person, this is why I like to talk to them and research and not just take what they say, because I have to believe that this person is innocent, because I have to go in knowing in my mind that this person is innocent, and I'm looking for specific things like you say. If the person is truly innocent, there's a cover up in there somewhere. There's going to be a police report that doesn't make sense. There's going to be uh, evidence that was there that's not there now in the next police report that should have been caught by his attorney, because he went to trial, and there was a 2-day trial. This man was convicted on a decapitation murder charge in 2 days. That right there is a red flag for me.
Yeah, that's 2 days, huh? I mean, was that, no pun intended, is that cut and dry, huh?
So I mean, now there is a confession from him, right? So this is where the water really gets muddy, but I understand where there was a confession from him, and it just so happens that all 3 cases that I've taken and worked on has been false confessions from individuals, right? The John Merritt case here in Florida, Curtis Davis Jr. there in Mississippi, and now this individual here, all have what I call false confessions, where they're extorted and pressured into telling them what these police want them to tell them, because they think that by just telling them what they want to hear, they'll either get a leniency, because a lot of times we're put in a position where we feel, like you said earlier, we have no choice. In the case of John Merritt, he won himself a new trial on his murder charge while he was in prison. And at his new trial, before his new trial started, his attorney at that time came to him and told him that if you lose this, they're going to give you the death penalty here in Florida. And that scared him, because he's like, why would my lawyer come and tell me this? That means that he's not going to defend me.
Or he's not confident enough.
So he took a plea. He pled guilty to it on the second time, because they told him if he pleads guilty, they'll just give him life with the possibility of parole. So that's what he said. He says, I'd rather know that I can be alive and still fight my innocence and hopefully get out on parole. That was his thought process in taking that plea. Curtis Davis Jr. gave a false confession because he thought that he was saving his family. Right? He thought that he was saving his family because they were threatening that if he did not confess to this charge, they were going to charge his whole family with first-degree murder. And at that time, he was not aware that his own family was the one that was setting him up. So this is something else that we're working on. And now here with this instance here, this individual was telling them that he did it. and telling him, because the whole thing was they wanted to know where the knife in the head was. So what he ended up telling the detectives was what he witnessed, right? Because they were saying that she was murdered by the decapitation, that the head was cut off while she was alive, and he was telling them no, they shot twice in her head and then cut off her head, which I understand. They, from what I'm putting together in my head, they're trying to collect evidence.
Now, wouldn't there be um, evidence of that in the bed from blood splatter? You know what I mean? If two shots, and then also too, I mean, where'd the bullets go?
Well, this is where it starts to get shady, because there was no pathologist at the trial that testified about blood spatter. It was only crime scene analyst. So I have to really kind of look into that, because my initial thing is, okay, just from my limited knowledge of how the body bleeds and things and works, and what, if you cut off the head while it's alive, while the body is alive, there's going to be blood everywhere. You know what I mean? And then the body's going to be drugged from the bed to the bathtub. There's going to be blood. The body is going to bleed out because the heart is still pumping.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
if you kill the body and then cut off the head, the heart isn't pumping anymore. So that blood isn't projecting like it would be if it was still a live body. I mean, that's from my limited knowledge. So if I have to look at the crime scene photos, but if there's limited blood going from the bed to the bathtub, or like you said earlier, the blood spatter just doesn't look convincing, I guess, that it was alive, then I would have to believe that yes, the head was shot twice. This is why they cut off the head, because the bullets were in the head. They're not going to sit there and dig through the head to get out the bullets. Bullets are traceable, right? So they just cut off the head, took the knife, the head, the gun, the casings, put it all in a bag, and left to cover up evidence.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And why did she why were they killing her to begin with? What was she involved in? And did he know
Well,
it?
these are the he really we didn't really get into that per se as to motive, but she was a trucker. I believe that there was mention of maybe drug sales, drug use, things of that nature. Um,
Distribution, using the truck, getting involved with getting in
Individuals.
yeah, getting involved with individuals maybe because of your drug use. You know what I mean? If there was drug use, then that would be a good way to leverage for your debt and having you do something, I don't know. That's an interesting truth is always stranger than fiction, man. When you start peeling back layers of things, of stories.
So, and that is that's a lot of, so that's one angle. Another angle is possibly uh, baby daddy drama.
Mhm.
There may have been some confusion as to who, because there was children. There was a supposed an 8-month-old, 9-month-old child in the house at the time, and then there was, I believe, a 9-year-old child who was at school who came home, but the house was locked. He couldn't get in, which was unusual. They left a way for him to get in, and that way was locked, and that was unusual to him. But I guess he went into a neighbor's house and uh, slept. So this whole thing is kind of odd. There's I have to get in there and really kind of see what was going on. I have to reach out to people. There were witnesses. So this is what I do, and then I give my assessment in the end. And then if I find anything noteworthy, or see, the trick is finding something that the court, because I have a confession, I have to disprove one, I have to disprove this confession and prove that this confession was made under false allegations out of stress, right?
Duress.
Duress, exactly. That's the word I'm looking for. That this was a confession made out of duress, and I have to prove that.
That's a
Um,
weird. That's a weird phenomenon in itself. People confessing. You know what I mean? That like how do you get somebody to the point where they're like to for them to say yes, and I know some of it is that they convince them that they believe that if you just tell us what we want to hear, this will all go away.
well, it's just think back to your childhood. This is how I look at it. I reflect back to my childhood and my father. So to share a story, let me share this story, and this will answer your question. This is a beautiful story at a beautiful time. I was probably about 7 years old. My brother was 8 years older than me, and my brother was already into stealing. He was a klepto, and again, he's 13, 14 at this time. Now, my father took me one day because he wanted to go buy a ring. Now, my father was at this time a woman's man, and he was very materialistic and loved shiny things and all that stuff. And he went to take me to purchase a ring one time. I remember the ring today, like the back of my hand. And uh, probably a lot of the reason why I have tattoos and stuff the way that I do. But we go and we pull up to this house, and it was a jeweler who had his house, and he turned his garage into like a little jewelry thing. So we're walking around, and I'm looking at all this stuff, and my father calls me over to look at this ring, and he says, "What do you think?" So I look at this ring, and the ring is the shape of a lion's face, right? The face of a lion, and in his eyes are two diamonds. And it's kind of like a nugget, because back in the 80s, that was the big thing, nugget rings and stuff like that. Remember?
Mhm.
So he ended up buying this ring. Now remember, I'm like 6, 7, 8 years old. So my memory kind of skips from that to me coming home one day from school. And I know this wasn't a long period of time. This is a very short period of time from the period of him buying to me coming home from school. Now, my father was the ruler of this house, right? And what that means is that the house moved how my father moved. When my father was in an angry mood, everybody was silent in their rooms, to themselves. My father wasn't angry, people were out talking, sitting at the table, things like that. So this particular time I come in and everybody's sitting around the table, but everybody is silent. And as soon as I come in, because my father remarried to my stepmother and she had daughters, and the first person's eyes I look at is my stepsister. And she looked at me and gave me a look like, run, right? So
Mhm.
automatically, I start becoming paranoid. I don't know what's going on. My mind starts like, what did I do? What did I do? So I go in, my father's leaning on the counter, and he says, I'm gonna ask you one time, where's my ring? I have no freaking idea what happened to I don't even know what he's talking about. Like I didn't even know the ring was missing. So I like that, I don't know. So he said, okay. He says, this is the last time I'm gonna ask you, where's my ring? I start crying because I know, like, I don't know what the hell is going on. So like that, I don't know. So then my brother chimes in, Dad, I saw him outside playing with it with his friends earlier, because in front of our house is like like a little sewer drain, and all of us used to hang around this little, kids from the neighborhood just
Mhm.
hang around the little sewer drain outside. We used to just go out on the block, play and stuff like that. So my father comes, and all my at this time my friends are out there by the sewer drain. So my father grabs me by my arm and lifts me up off my feet, and he drags me outside. And he asked me in front of all the friends, right? Like, where where's the ring? Have you seen him with the ring? Who has my ring? So all my friends are like, what the hell's what the this crazy guy here? What the hell's going on? So my father starts whooping my ass, right? With a belt, hard as hell, right in front of my friends, all of that stuff. So I tell my father, then I threw it down the drain. He's whooping. I just want him to stop whooping me.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling him what he wants to hear in that moment so he stops whooping me. So he stopped whooping me. And my brother, here goes my brother. He rips open the drain. He's down in the drain. He's looking, he's pulling shit out of this drain and all this. And he's like, no, there's no ring down here. My father started whooping my ass again. So now what he does is he says, I know how to get you to talk. So they drag me back into the house. My brother's right beside him. My father tells my brother to go get a garbage bag. My brother goes, little bootlicker. That's what my brother was. My brother goes and gets he goes and gets a garbage bag, and they go into my room and they start throwing all my toys away. All my toys.
Oh.
Right? I'm just sitting there on the bed just crying, like, what is going on? You know, I have no idea what's going on. My
Just got
father
fucking sidewiped. Swiped.
I just came home from school. I just walked into this scene, have no clue what's going on. All I know is they threw my brother's laughing and giggling the whole time, just throwing all my toys away. My father took all my toys out in a bag, threw them away. All my toys were gone, and just left me on the bed. I stayed in my room for it was a couple hours, just sitting there crying. My father come in later and said one thing to me. What do you think he said to me?
I don't know. I know it wasn't I'm sorry.
It wasn't I'm sorry, but it was the best that he could do. Right? He just came in and he told me, I believe you. And that was it. And walked out. That has haunted me my whole life because my brother to this day will fight tooth and nail to say that he had nothing to do with it. And truly and honestly, I don't know who took the ring. My father could have lost the ring, but being the man that I am today and reflecting upon all of that, because again, this has had a large impact on me, and a lot of connections in my life has been made to that traumatic instance. I have a tattoo of a lion on my right hand. This is the hand that he wore this lion ring on. I have a lion tattooed on my leg. I have infatuation with lions. So this is a connection that was made by a therapist, that I've never really connected to. So to this day, I still don't know what happened to that ring. My brother refuses to confess to it, but again, my brother is in such a deep narcissistic state. He don't even know who he is at this point in his life. But it's to get back into that point. I was lying, Sean. I was lying to just stop everything that was going on. I told my father whatever he wanted to hear to just stop what was going on. I just wanted it to stop. So, one, I could just even process what was going on because it got to a point that I had no idea how we even got here. And so, when I look at that and then I say, and I put it in a judicial mindset where these prosecutors and these detectives put you in such a position that you feel like you're going to lose your life over something you didn't do. You know, there was a big thing back here in Pasco County. I want to say in late 90s, early 2000s of a child that was shot by a stepfather here in Tampa. And this stepfather took the police on a wild chase that ended out in North Pasco County. A state trooper had been killed. A detective, a crime scene detective, was killed. And he took the police on a high speed chase where he ended up at a gas station and taking some hostages in a gas station where he ended up calling a radio station live on the radio station to say that just to get his story out. just to say that he did not kill his son, that it was an accident with the gun, it slipped. He was cleaning it, the boy just happened to be there, the thing went off, and it just hit the boy in the face.
Mm.
The police ended up rushing into the gas station and killing him. Now, instantly, when I'm watching this live happen, unfold, and I knew right away that those two detectives had that man in the back of that car pressuring him, telling him that they were going to send him away for life. He was a child murderer, all of those things. I know it. I know those detectives were making him feel like that. And he flipped. He wrestled one, grabbed one of their guns, shot him, and took off.
Mm.
This is what police do. This is what prosecutors do. This is what detectives do. It's almost a sense of waterboarding in a fashion,
Good.
right?
Oh, that's a good analogy. Yeah, it is. It's a verbal waterboarding.
Verbal waterboarding in a fashion to where they make you feel like I was that child. I just wanted it to go away. And if I have to tell you what you want to hear to make this go away, then fine. And then they make a mock trial over it, a 2-day trial. That just tells me that this was just a process. It was a mock trial just to go through. He told me that jurors were getting up, going to use the bathroom in the middle of trial. They would just get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of trial,
Wow.
to the point to where the judge had to tell the bailiff to go get the guy because he's been in the bathroom for a while.
That's yeah, I never heard of that, man. I never even really thought about like what would you I mean, you know what I mean? Like how would you go about that? Like if you have to go to the bathroom, do you
A
say, hey,
recess. Yes, you have to, the judge has to recess the court. All the jurors have to be excused. You as a juror cannot hear testimony that I didn't hear. And then we're supposed to sit in the same room and come to a conclusion.
oh,
How?
that's a good point. Yep, yep. No, you're right.
So
How
it's the court has to be recessed, which a good judge is going to control that every so often he's going to bring a recess for a bathroom break. But no, you can't just be excused from the jury box live in the middle of trial to go use the bathroom, and then you're just sitting in there playing on your phone.
yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And that's probably what they would be doing too, man. I ran into that shit yesterday. My daughter had to go to the bathroom and it was we're at a Safeway and sure as shit, man, like 5 minutes, 10 like almost 10 minutes sitting there and out comes the employee, obviously they were probably in there uh talking or doing something on their phone, but it's like Jesus, man. But it's just, it's a human nature.
But this is our judicial system, though,
Yeah.
right? This is our judicial system, and we're seeing that with Donald Trump. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, irregardless, it has nothing to do with that. We are witnessing how a prosecutor can abuse the judicial system, can weaponize the judicial system for political means, for popularity, for what's the word I'm looking for when you growth within, escalation within your career.
Yeah.
You know, um, there's many reasons why prosecutors do the things that they do. And again, this is why I warn you about DeSantis. Just keep in mind that this is a prosecutor.
Yeah, he's got fun. He's pouring honey in everybody's ears.
At the end of the
Pouring
day,
that
he's a
honey.
prosecutor.
Yeah, I I mean, he's doing some of the some good stuff, but but I mean, like, is that just a carrot? You know what I mean? A carrot and a stick. He's got people sort of fooled. Like it's almost like a rope a dope. You know what I mean? It's
But
like
what is a what is a prosecutor's career? What does he
putting
do?
people away,
Well, but
locking people
how
up.
though? How? By creating a story, by carrot sticking a jury, by making a jury believe something that may or may not be real. But he is a storyteller. This is what a prosecutor does: is take something, create a story to present to an individual for conviction or not conviction. That is his career. That is his mindset.
Mm. Yeah, no, you're right. So yeah, it's interesting. And then you go, the other side, just the whole thing, what you're talking about, weaponizing the judicial system. I mean, they're not even hiding it. I mean, they're just that's how brazen these folks have become. At They don't think anything is going to happen to them. You know, Nothing does ever happen to them, so they're emboldened to do this stuff right out in the open, because like who's gonna stop us? They figure they have more people that hate this individual that will green light it or not speak out about it or not say anything about it. And but I mean, it's like, okay, for this one, but what about if it's on your side next? You know what I mean? And they're gonna go after the people that you do like. It's not just gonna stop at him.
Well, we've seen that with Kid Rock and the Bud Light thing. Did you watch that video?
No, I haven't seen that. I heard he went out. He was like spoke out against something about him.
Well, he spoke out against it. But I made a TikTok on that, and of course I got a lot of backlash. But you have what's her name? Yeah, Candace Owens, right? You have Candace Owens praising Kid Rock as a man's man, and this is the type of man that we need in America, and he's a real man and a man's man. And it shows this video of he made a video of what he thought about Bud Light and their gender equality move or marketing or whatever that it you want to call it is that they're doing. But he takes cases of Bud Light in the backyard. He pulls out a mini machine gun, like a mini rifle. I don't even know what it was, submachine gun, and shoots up the Bud Light. F you, Anheuser Busch. This is what I think about you, and blah blah blah. And you got Candace. Oh, that's a real man, man's man. I'm like, look at these clowns, man. Look at these clowns. These people are clowns. But they're influential clowns. And this again is the problem with America is we have these clowns up here who are just entertainers. That is all they are. Candace Owens only cares about her entertainment. Kid Rock only cares about his entertainment. But you have people that are influenced by them. So what does Kid Rock did make it any different of what the trans community is doing? Right? Pushing their opinion and their agenda on people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's all
Yep.
Kid Rock did with that. And in the light of what upset me so much was the recklessness, right? And the uncontrolled man. This is what we have in America now is the man that is uncontrolled. Sean, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's these hotheads who just react emotionally because at the end of the day his beer was affected, and now they're trying to champion it like he stands up for women because he shot up beer cans with a mini machine gun because he didn't want to drink beer out of a can that had a rainbow and unicorns on it. In light of the fact that this government is trying to take our guns, this is what was so reckless and emotional about this human being, right? Is everything that is going on, and then several days later after this event is when we had another school shooting. So my thought process is Kid Rock in on this, trying to be this whole American guy thing, but you're showing how dumb rednecks can be reckless with machine guns. Is that what you're trying to show? So now that they can use that against us and say, this is what you want your machine guns for, to use them for other things that they're not intended for. Shame on Kid Rock and shame on Candace Owens.
Well, it definitely has to, you have to think, if the goal is to get the guns away, right? Because that's what makes us different from any other nation, I think, in the world right now. I mean, I know there are some other countries that do allow guns as well, but I mean, if you're just talking about the amount that the public has, like per capita, right? Of what is it, like they can arm every American 3 times, 3 guns with the
Mhm.
amount that we have. So I mean, that's the going to be the most difficult part of trying to control us, right? Is that big wedge right there. That's a huge hurdle. And so I mean, you see all of the it seems like that there's more, um or maybe I just don't notice it as much, but it seems like whenever there's a democratic run administration, that the school shootings seem to be higher. And if that's the case, why is that? And if they're trying to take the guns, then how many of these situations are actually real? Are they all real? I mean, you start looking into, the mass shooting, the biggest one, the uh, Vegas one, Harvest 92, Route 92 Harvest Festival, something like that. But I mean, that one, you start digging into that and all the weird shit surrounding that one. It's like, okay, that one may not be so random after all, right? Um, I don't know, man. I don't think that all of them are what they say they are. I think that there's a real thing, there's crisis actors, there's, that's a real thing too. I mean, some of these things could be staged just to try to get the public to go along with, hey, yeah, this is a bad thing. We need to get rid of these things. They're just trying to manufacture consent.
No, I absolutely believe that. And I think the Buffalo shooter was an example of that because this is a kid who had a manifesto online. He was online spreading hate for like a year, talking about what he was going to go do and this and that. I mean, Sean, we're social media guys. I mean, if we say one wrong thing, we're discontinued. We're banned off TikTok for a week, or we
Hmm.
get kicked off YouTube, or we get shadow banned or whatever it is. But yet this kid was yet still online in Discord, I believe, right? And we
Hmm.
just saw that this I don't know how many people saw, but the American soldier who just got arrested for posting on Discord. So we know that if the FBI, if you're talking on online about dangerous things, the FBI knows.
Hmm.
So how did this kid do what he did? How was he allowed to do what he did when he's been talking about what he was going to do for a year online? So it makes me sit back and think, are they allowing these things to occur? Right. And this is what I mean about being fake. It's not that the incident itself, because God bless the parents that had to suffer and are suffering through this. And I'm not trying to minimize any of that, but and fabricated, what I think Sean and I are talking about are these instances where they are allowed to happen,
Hmm.
kind of like where the Fed, the DEA will sit back and watch a drug dealer deal drugs because he wants to get more people or whatever. But in the meantime, this person is distributing poison that is killing people, but they're allowed to do that for bigger fish. So is this what they're doing? Because the bigger fish in this instance is to take our guns.
Hmm.
So let's
And
just
they're
sit back.
slowly, they're slowly chipping away at it, right? So it was the bump stocks, after that incident in Las Vegas, they did away with that. Now they're trying to get rid of assault weapons, right? The assault rifles, and the clips. They've, the amount of
Reduce the clips.
ammunition that you can put in there, they're reducing it. They're putting limits to make it harder to access a firearm. And then they're actually making it harder to get bullets. So if you have a gun, okay, you got a gun. Well, if you can't get a whole lot of bullets, what good is that gun?
Right. And remember back in the day, like with marijuana and other things that they did is they put a like a tax code on it.
Mm.
You had to have a like a certificate in order to purchase these things. So true enough, you could purchase them, but you had to have a government issued certificate, and the government never issued these certificates. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, that's right. There used to be stamps or cannabis. I've seen those before. It used to be a stamp, and they had, I don't know if it had a denomination on it, but, or whatever, but I think it had hemp on them, and you had to buy these. That's your tax stamp,
But the government never issued them.
and you had to put that stamp on whatever it is that you sold.
So I mean, again, this is a lot of what my message is to get people to understand that we are enslaved. America is a slave nation that has been duped into thinking that it's free. And this is how they keep us enslaved,
What was the devil's greatest trick?
to make you think something that you're not.
Convincing you he didn't exist.
That's exactly right.
And you know who else said some whack shit like that? Dulles, the head of the CIA, Alan Dulles. And he said, my job is not going to be complete until I've convinced the American public that I've confused them to the point that they don't know what's up from down.
Mhm.
And that's exactly where we're at. Because you don't know unless you're following, credible sources, like you don't know what's real and what's not anymore. And with the
Well,
deep fakes that are coming, and the AI and all this other stuff. I mean, it's just getting more cloudy and more convoluted.
you don't even know what a reliable source is. Like you say, you unless you're following a creditable source, but you don't even know what that is. You think you're following a credible source. You think the news is a credible source, but it's not.
Yep. If you what I used to say, if you don't watch the news, you're uninformed. But if you do watch the news, you're misinformed.
And I'm trying to get Americans to understand, listen, man, you have to understand history. For eons and eons and eons of time, ever since there has been control and of power, they have been trying to eradicate knowledge. They've been hiding books. This is what the whole Crusades was about. It was about keeping knowledge from the people, because as long as you keep the people stupid, you control them,
Hmm.
right? What makes you think that they stopped that? What makes you think that that went away anywhere? It hasn't. Only today, because of the information that's available to each and individual human being, they control that through manipulation, through making you think that you know something that isn't true. To put it in perspective, right? Okay, so say you're sitting in your TV and you turn on your TV. How many channels do you have on your TV that you can choose from each day?
Oh shit, I don't know.
Thousands,
Whatever.
right?
Yeah, I mean there are tons. Whatever the apps, you know what I mean.
First, we started with three. You had the remember the TV with the little turn thing. You had 8, 10, and 13 that you could turn, and then I think you could turn it to like a UF station, but there was always snow,
Mhm,
whatever.
mhm.
Then we went to
And there was that
maybe
bottom
about
one that when you go to the UHF, you go click, 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 until you tune it in.
tune in something. And then you got to where you had the box with the slider. Remember the slider? We'd pull the cover off the slider, put staples in, and get all the channels and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was, I think it went up to like 30 or 40, something
Yeah, about
maybe.
30 or 40. So now we got about 30 or 40 choices to choose from to watch, right? And now we're up to, like you say, thousands of channels.
Mm.
What do we have? That gives us the feeling of choice. We have the power of choice. We can choose. That makes us feel free.
And it
I
still
feel
ain't shit to watch on TV.
I feel free to choose what I want to watch. That makes me feel free. However, all of those stations are owned by only a handful of entities. And a handful of those entities all pretty much have the same agenda because most of those entities are all democratic, liberal minded entities. So, what does that mean? That means that you could be sitting here changing your channel 1,000 times, but you're getting the same message.
Mm.
So you feel like you're free, but you're really not because you're being indoctrinated and you don't even know it. So and this is where you'll get human beings that'll say, I get it all the time. I'll sit there and say something, no, that's not true. Well, I saw it on 4 different news stations, but all those news stations are owned by the same company. So because you're changing the channel, you're thinking, well, if they're saying the same thing, because you're seeing different faces say it. That's the thing. Well, this Mike McCanahan over on CBS said this, and when I switched it over, Michael J. So and so said the same thing, so it's got to be true.
You ever seen those collages where it's got the same narrative from hundreds of different news saying the same shit? They get all their stuff from the Associated Press. So, who owns AP? Right? That's where all of it goes through. It goes to the Associated Press, and then that's where they like pick and choose what, hot topics they want to, cover. But it all comes through that same line, unless they're doing some local, like spotlight sort of thing, which you don't see anymore. You don't see any of that serious investigative journalism coming out of any of these big corporate media places anymore. It has nothing to do with trying to figure anything out. It's just infotainment now.
Well, but this is why I love black people, Sean, because without black people, I would have never known the truth, right? I would still think today that Christopher Columbus landed in America. I would have never known the truth. It was coming in contact at a young age with black society that I started realizing that knowledge that was in my head wasn't true. But I didn't come to grips with that and understand that until I'm a grown man in prison. Until I realized that every ounce of knowledge that was in my head was placed in there by other people. It wasn't my knowledge. It wasn't things that I went out and fact checked. It wasn't things that I went out and did and say, I have experience in this. I know it. It was what other people have told me,
Mm. I think that's a lot of
and
people.
that's a lot of people. That's a lot of us. And until we come to that, because you're talking about careers, you're talking about scholarships, right? Who's going to come back and say, well, you know what? You're absolutely correct. I really don't know shit. Not living experience shit. I know what this school taught me. I know what these people taught me. But how many people are really going to come forward and say, I really don't know shit. I'm repeating what other people taught me.
Yeah, I
That was
mean,
a hard
even
transition in my life.
well, I mean, and I think why some of these things, like it's a flat Earth, for instance, right? Why does that get so much traction? It's not so much it itself; it's just the whole concept, right? It's do the people even know that are saying that there isn't? No, the only people that know if this place is round are the people that have gone up into the space, right? They've gone up into whatever to look back down and to see it. And then they're just telling you, right? Now CGI, I mean, we don't know any of the things that we're looking at because they can reproduce it probably better than it looks in real life. Now, does that mean I don't know, man, but the government has been caught lying and doing scandalous shit to its population, before, which makes it okay. Maybe, You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of things are like that, where you're right, where we're just this is just the way that we learned it. That this is how it is, and until you can experience something yourself, I mean, like, how do they know that the center of the earth is spinning the opposite way that we're supposedly hurling through at, a million miles an hour? Like, how do you know that the center is spinning? Did you go down there and look? Did you stick something down there? Nobody, we can't even drill down that far. So, like, how do you know that? And you know what I mean? That there's just so many things that can be questioned. Like, how do you really know your
You
equations? I mean, do how? I bet
don't.
yeah.
It, this is the time that we're in, partner, and it's you question reality. You're in essence really actually questioning reality. Like, is the earth really flat? Is can it can you not go out into space? Is there a firmament that these rockets keep hitting? But yet, so it's I would like to think that everything I knew about space is as what it was taught to me, that we're in this infinite amount of space and there's other life out there and there's all this exponential travel that you could. I'd like to think like that.
I want
But
nothing more than to believe that the things that I'm seeing are actually real and like that it is that cool. But I don't want to believe anything. You know what I mean? Because unless I see it, I don't want to believe it. I've been
that
bamboozled too many times by these people.
that's where I'm at now. I'm kind of at the point now to where I only know what's in front of me, and that's all I deal with. What I can see and physically touch, anything else, I could care less. And when you sit here and think about it, okay, there's a firmament, the earth is flat, and we're under a sheet of ice. How does that impact your daily living function? You going out in the community and being an asshole. How does that affect that? You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at now. So it doesn't, to me, it doesn't, okay, the world is round, it's flat, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to be my best self when I go out each day. It has no effect on me having to pay taxes.
Your car payment, your
It changes none of that.
your cell phone bill. I still got to pay that. You know what I mean? Life still operates in the same manner. I mean, it doesn't have any impact whatsoever. It's just okay. Now what? I mean, if okay, if it is true, now what? I mean, we're seeing, if you just look at the Twitter files, right? All the shit's out in the open to see about how, we were being manipulated, through the last 3 years and how people were being censored off of because of certain things and making certain narratives go certain directions. I mean, we see that just happened. Now what? Okay. Anybody going to
Gotcha.
jail? Anybody, losing positions? Anybody is Biden going to lose the presidency now because he had help from these social media companies, the Russian collusion supposedly, but it's more our own collusion, right? Our our own collusion in making shit like that happen. But is anybody going to go to jail? No. So I mean, like, who I'm at the point where it's like, okay, yeah, you got all these whistleblowers and you got all this other shit. Nothing ever happens.
Nope. Nothing never happens, man. And that again, these are my messages, and this is what Thomas Free Me is about, because when I'm in here with these representatives, I just did it the other day, and my partner actually had to pull me to the side, and he's like, homie, listen, I hear you and I know, but you can't go in there and with everybody talking about corruption, because we're going to lose what we got going on. You're going to scare people away. But I tell people out of the gate, listen, I'm not here for corruption, and if I see it, I'm going to call it out. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Joe Biden. I don't care, because what's the worst that you can do? Kill me? You've done that already. The life that I wanted from a child, you've already stripped from me. You arrested me at 13, 14 years old. You know what I mean? So at this point, what does it even matter? This is why I don't care about these big fancy things and all that stuff anymore, because one of these dirty cops or prosecutors could say, you know what, we need to get this guy out of here and come and take me out. And who's really going to even say anything? I'm just going to be another podcaster like we're seeing all over TV now, these YouTubers and podcasters who are getting killed, and nothing's really even being done about it.
You're
Look
a
at the Cash
DT,
App guy.
man.
They say they caught that guy. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I heard that too. And it
Cash
was
App killer.
somebody in tech.
Yeah, it was his tech department.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a strange one.
All 6 of them have been strange. There's been 6 crypto leaders that have been killed, and all of them have been a little strange.
Yeah, I wonder even the same, like, remember back in the day, who was it? A whole bunch of people got killed that were
Back in the day, a whole bunch of people did get killed.
no, it was connected to I don't know if it was the auto industry or if it had to do never mind. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to even talk about it. So
Well, what I'm just finding out is remember the Malaysian flight? I was incarcerated when that happened, but the Malaysian flight that disappeared, all the plane and all the people just disappeared. Well, there's something coming out now that on that plane was 4 scientists that had a patent, and there was 5 scientists altogether that was in on this patent. It was a lot of patents, but it was all under one umbrella, and it was a government patent worth billions of dollars. And the design of the ownership of this patent is if anything was to happen to one in particular, that one particular's rights to that patent would be divided amongst the survivors. But you had all 4 on one flight, and the flight disappears. Who gets the rights to all those patents? The one survivor. And the one survivor happened to be a billionaire investor. So odd.
Yeah, I think this was what I was talking about is something similar to that, but even further back down the line. You know what I mean? I think like back to like the Rockefellers or even like the Titanic. Like there was people on the Titanic that died. That same sort of thing had to do with patent holders and shit like that, and their whatever guy, one of them was able to. The one that didn't die was the one that it all transferred to.
Lucky him, yeah.
So I mean that's crazy. You'd wipe out a whole fucking plane or a whole ship just to get rich. I mean that's
Because
crazy.
we're slaves. This is what I'm trying to get us to understand. I know we don't want to admit that. We don't want to admit that, but these people look at us like slaves. They are the rich. We are the poor. We generate money for them.
We're cattle.
We produce at a greater rate than they do. So we're expendable.
Well, if you listen to Noah Yuval Harari, who is the philosopher, the great philosopher for the World Economic Forum, he calls us useless eaters. What are we going to do with the useless eaters? Once they've AI and all the computers and robots are in place and doing the work of the useless eaters, the cattle. What are they going to do with us? So I think that's a big part of the culling that has happened over the last 3 years is really what it was. It's culling. They use war, they use pandemics. There was one before with the Spanish flu, which really wasn't a Spanish flu. It was the meningitis vaccine that was spreading shit all over the place. Same thing. They don't change it very often, and that's why they have a reset every 100 years, because that's about a lifetime, right? And so the next generation at some point will forget and won't even remember. And so, that, and then there's just the internet and the efficiency now they can do the controlling is crazy. And so now that's why, there's a big push on the digital ID and the digital, like, currency. That's all control mechanisms, right? If they can push a button and say you can't spend more than $50 and you can't spend money within more than 5 mile radius from your home, they don't need to put you in jail. Your phone or your digital avatar will be in jail, which is same as you.
Well, this is where we get into mass incarceration, right? Because we cannot. We learned in the early 1800s that slavery is not something that people accept very easily, right? Right. The guy with the water powered car. So we understand that we understand that. I lost my train of thought. What did I just say? 'Cause I had a message that just came in.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off on
No, not that message. I had a message that came on my phone that distracted me. But uh,
he said
the
water power.
1800s, we learned. Hey, Sean, help me out, man. What was I talking about?
Well, we were talking about technology and
Short-term memory loss.
just thank the green. Um, I don't know, man. I got thrown off by the water powered car. I'm like, I had to think about that for a minute. I remember there was something about that. I
Mm.
know that there's something you can do with the car where you can it runs on, you can have it run on fumes for like a 100 miles.
Okay, so we knew that in the 1800s, right, that we didn't like slavery, the word slavery, and we had to change that to make it palatable for people to accept what was going on and not think that they were enslaved. This is how we got into being indoctrinated the way that we are. So in today's fashion, they manipulate us in a way, Sean, that we I mean we're enslaved to the point to where we don't feel like we're enslaved. This is why in America work comes first. Work comes first in America, not our families. We would jeopardize our own children because we can't be late for work, right? We can't lose our job. We can't be late for work. Work is important. Work comes first in America. That is slavery,
Mhm.
right?
It's called Munchausen syndrome, is that, or the Munchausen by proxy, where you become like, you protect your captor instead of, you know what I mean? Or
Right.
your owner or whatever, you know what I mean? Whoever it is
Kind of
that's
like
put,
Stockholm syndrome,
yes, that's what it is. That's probably
right?
that's exactly what
John
I'm talking
Stockholm. Yep, and the history behind John Stockholm and Stockholm syndrome, that's exactly what it is, where you start to sympathize and empathize with your captor,
about. Mhm.
right? So in a sense, what Stockholm syndrome is for the people, for the listener, is if I kidnap you and I hold you hostage in my house, after a certain amount of time, you're going to start to empathize with me and sympathize with me, especially if I'm making you feel sorry for me the whole time that we're there. And you'll actually then start to combat for me. You'll start to defend me. You'll actually tell the police, no, he didn't kidnap me. He didn't do these things, right? And this is a traumatic event because you lose you lose sense of reality. You start adapting to the reality that you're in, and your mind starts to accept what has happened to you, and you just start to adapt. This is how humans survive, right? This is how we deal with trauma. So instead of sitting here admitting that we're enslaved, because that will cause a traumatic effect on us, that will make us rebel. We won't want to do anything if we admitted that we were enslaved, right? We
Mhm.
have hope. No, I I don't believe that. I believe that our people in our government are still good and that there are people up there that want to make change. And I just believe that I'm going to spend the next 6 months studying on who I'm going to vote for. And then I'm going to spend a whole day of my life to go stand in this line and put this piece of paper in this box and hope that it works. This is
Mm.
how they have us. This
Oh,
sounds silly when you put it like that, don't it? But this is what we do.
well, they've got people convinced. You know what I mean? They're convinced that that they have an option, that there's hope. And I don't know. I mean, I think that the way, like, if you think about who's free and who's not in society today, right? The freest people to me seem to be the homeless. The
Mm.
ones that, you know what I mean, they're not attached to society. They don't have to get up and worry. I mean, I'm sure they have worries, the different other worries, but I mean, they're not in, like, we're on this hamster wheel, right? Let's say that I am, right? Um, where I have to make X amount of dollars to fund the payments and everything else that the little leverage pieces that they use against us to keep us uh on the wheel, right? We have to pay the car payment. You got to pay the mortgage. You got to pay the rent. You got to pay this. You got to pay that. So we have all of these, expenditures that have to get, you know, paid for. And it's the job that keeps us doing it, even if it's something that we don't enjoy doing, even if it's something that we hate. We have to continue to do this thing because we're afraid to pull off of it. What's going to happen if we pull off of it? What's going to happen if I just fucking eject, right? What's you know what I mean? We don't know because we're convinced that we need these things. That security, it's that I'm successful, that I'm all of these things, that I've convinced myself, right? But what happens if I just say fuck it and eject? What's going to happen? And a lot of people are afraid to do that. And, where am I going to live? How am I going to survive? And all the stuff that goes along with that. Now, are homeless people free in that way? Fuck yeah, they are. They ain't gonna worry about, what time they're gonna wake up. They know where most of them are gonna sleep. And even if they don't care, where my bedroom is wherever I fall asleep at, really is what it comes down to. So they are the freest in society. So how do you get from, because I don't want to live that way. I don't want to, you know what I mean? That to me, that's not a life. Now, how do you break away from this centralized system that has us indoctrinated from in debt slavery, right? That's really what we're in, debt slavery. If you're
Mhm,
a part of this system and you're
mhm.
indoctrinated into it very, very young, right? Straight out into college, when
Indebted
you
servitude.
yeah, and you go into college, and that's exactly what it is. They're getting you on the student loans that you'll never get out from underneath. You can't even bankrupt your way out of them. They'll be passed on to your kin, your next of kin, who's going to have to foot the bill. I don't know if it goes that far, but I'm just saying. I mean, look, it's and then too, when you start college, what's the first thing that you see in the mall? All of the credit card companies wanting to give you and approve you for a credit card. You're going to get approved because you're in college, and they know that you're whatever. I couldn't get one if I wasn't in college, and so, and then they use the credit score against you. So there's all these leverage tactics, and that credit score says how good of a person you are because it's tied to your ability to fulfill your debt obligations.
It's tied to your ability to comply. This is what I'm trying to get Americans to understand about themselves is these people, well, I've never been in trouble. I don't have none of these issues because you're a compliant mind. You do what you're told to do, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. You've just done it just to fit in, just to get by, right? To get ahead. So you have sold your own beliefs just for personal gain. That's how I look at it. And this is how they've gotten us in America. This is how five officers, five cops can beat an American citizen to death on a Tennessee street, and no American's going to say anything about it because they're scared to lose their jet skis. They're scared that they don't want any repercussions to come back on them. I just don't want any heat on me, right? That is a compliant mindset. This is how they have made us. This is why they've eradicated the alpha male as much as they could. They try to put us in prison or accuse us, false accuse us to get us out of the picture, because the alpha male is going to be like, no, hold up. The alpha male is a free thinker, you know, and he's going to be like, no, hold on. You can chop my head off, but this is wrong right here. So they try to eradicate us because they don't want us in the community telling people, no, this is wrong. This isn't what you see.
And we would be considered, now there was a movie about this called Divergence.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would be considered the divergence because we aren't susceptible to the mass hypnosis that the rest of the folks are, you know, the indoctrinated folks, the ones that have bought into the ones that don't want to think. They just want to be in the herd. Right. You know, we're just happy with the little job that we got. We're happy with, you know, this and that. And, you know, we don't like confrontation. We don't want, you know what I mean? There's those folks that just want to cruise through life on, what is that? On, yeah, I don't know what the fuck it's called. Cruise control, autopilot.
Autopilot.
You know,
That's right. And that's how we're functioning. So it's just coming to grips with that, man. It's just, my God, my message to these people is it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what, I've been living a compliant mindset, right? I'm living that and I don't want to be that anymore. So how do I break free from that instead of just saying, no, I don't do that. I don't do that, knowing that you do that. If you've had no altercations with, listen, man, if you've had no altercations with the police in America, you are a compliant mind. I'm sorry, because it's designed for you to encounter the police in some fashion. There's too many laws to break for you never to encounter a police. You know, so you have just been living a sheltered, compliant mind. So now the question comes in, is that free? Are you free? You talk about the homeless. Maybe that's why we hate on the homeless so much. Because we got to get up and go pay and slave to these people. And we look over and this dude is just over here on the sidewalk drinking asleep. And that's really what we want to be doing.
I think there's some truth to that. I honestly do. You know, because no matter how much you want to say that you're not a jealous person, no matter how much you want to say that you know that some things don't affect you, I'm pretty sure that there is, you know, some underlying hate there. You know what I mean? Just hating, you know, don't hate the player, hate the game, you know. But look at what they're willing to put themselves through. You know what I mean? It's got to be dangerous, you know what I mean, to be out there, you know, sleeping, you know, where anybody could just come and kick your ass, you know what I mean, on the ground. So I mean, you're vulnerable. It's not an easy life by no means. Is that what I'm saying? I'm just saying that it's like, you know, that's freedom. That's what freedom is to be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, shit wherever you want, piss wherever you want. That's freedom. And you know, now we're just so used to creature comforts and you know, necessities and niceties and you know, having a toilet.
That's why the gypsies were hated. You know, that's why the gypsies were marked and, you know, and societally hated the way that they were, because that's how they chose to live in that same fashion. They were gypsies.
Mhm,
They just
mhm.
roamed and did whatever they wanted to do as a pack of people, you
Now I'm
know?
surprised the Amish haven't been attacked, but you know, they just sort of stay to themselves. And you know, if shit went downhill, those would be the ones that would survive because they're already used to living a minimalist life. They're already used to not having electricity and figuring out how to get it done. You know, the way that we all should be living right now. To be honest with
That's
you,
that's exactly right.
You know what I mean? We should all be living that way. We shouldn't be, I mean, even at this internet, right? We're connected to thousands of people, right? We shouldn't be connected to thousands of people. Thousands of people should not be knowing what we're doing. We should have our community of people that we live in, just like we used to be, and those are the folks that you depend on. Those are the folks that you trade your services with. You get your, whatever it is. You live in smaller communities where everybody has, some sort of a responsibility in that community to continue it to grow. Growing your own food, growing your own beef, whatever it is that you do. Just get away from these centralized systems of control. The grocery store is a system of control. You have to, if you're not growing your own food, where do you got to go to get it? You have to go to the store. They control the prices. That's why things are getting out of control. What yesterday? What, $7 for a cart, a dozen? What was it? A dozen, 18 eggs or something like that. What else is expensive? Jesus, heavy whipping cream, $7, $8 for a bigger thing of it.
And it's all control, because guess what? If you want that whipping cream, you're gonna go work them extra 10 hours so that you can afford that whipping cream. And that's what they want. They want them 10 hours out of you.
Yeah, everything is there's indirect coercion to everything.
Mhm.
Even when you get locked up, you're indirectly coerced into taking a plea, because if you ain't got money, you're starving, and you're seeing everybody eating soups and you ain't. If you ain't got no hustle, you're hungry. And so what are you going to do? You want to get out of that situation. It's not comfortable. Fuck
Oh,
yeah, I did it.
okay, so I'm Ubering last night, right? Now here in Tampa, guess what? Guess who's in town? Taylor Swift.
Mm,
And she's selling the stadium out. I don't have no idea how much her tickets are, but I guarantee they're $200 plus, right?
mhm.
And she's selling this stadium out, Taylor Swift. Okay. And she's here all weekend. I got to deal with it again tonight. So my point is this: I'm out Ubering, Sean, and the people that I'm picking up to take to this Taylor Swift concert, I'm sitting here saying in my mind, like, you have no business buying a $200 ticket to go see Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? Like, you look like you can barely afford groceries.
Okay.
Most of the people that I'm picking up to take to Taylor Swift are poor people. At least they appear to be poor people. I'm picking them up from poor communities. They have, modest clothes on and such. They try to dress up as nice as they can. God bless their heart. They want to have a good time and have some stress relieved from them. And I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong, but what I'm saying is the whole thing is wrong.
Mm.
You know that you cannot afford Taylor Swift tickets, but yet you buy them, sacrifice whatever you did to buy them. Taylor Swift ain't done a penny for you. She hasn't put a penny in your pocket, but yet you have sacrificed and manipulated your life in a way for you to go see Taylor Swift. You are the reason why Taylor Swift is who she is.
I
This is what
never
I'm trying to get people to understand, man. Stop it.
I've never like fanned out like that. You know what I mean? I've never been, I don't know. I like, concerts have never really been my thing. Go spending that much money to be in a crowded ass space. You know what I mean? It's getting bumped, and I'm it just never, it was never really my thing. Even when I was younger, I just didn't. I couldn't afford it, and didn't have the money for none of them tickets. But and now it's just so expensive. Like, yeah, I mean, how do you afford that? And like, why are you spending that kind of money on that? Is it so you can get Instagram? I mean, so you can get, you're there. Are you trying to be Insta famous? Is that
Because you're
what it is?
cool. You're not cool if you're not there. That is how they market us. They have to market, they have to appeal to us in order to get us to spend our money. This is money that we know that we generate, we work for. We know what goes into making this money. So, how are you going to convince me to take this money now and spend it on this high priced item for, like you said, just a couple hours of what? to go scream my head off at somebody. Well, how do you convince me to do that? By making me think that I'm cool, that I have some kind of status by doing that. I'm going to the Taylor Swift concert. Oh my God, you're so lucky.
Oh,
You
make
know,
sure you Insta it. You TikTok it. Um, yeah, I did. Yeah, it's just never been a thing for me.
I've been to a couple, but I realized I went to a Ghetto Boys concert as a kid. I went to Ghetto Boys and Public Enemy. It was a good show, but there was a riot in it. You know, people started throwing chairs and stuff like that, so that kind of killed the show. And then I went to another one with a Jamaican artist, Beanie Man.
That's a
And let me tell
Shaba.
you,
Shaba.
Beanie Man. So Beanie Man's up on the stage. This was Wild Splash. We have a thing here in Clearwater Beach called Wild Splash every year. They bring in local artists and whatnot. And Beanie Man came to Wild Splash a while back. And I'm sitting there and I bought these tickets, man. And I'm sitting there and Beanie Man is the Shim Shima. Who got the keys to my Bima? And so he's coming out and he's singing these songs, and Beanie comes out for like one or two bars, and then he'll stop and he'll go rubbing on his joint. He's on stage rubbing on his joint and stuff, And I'm like, "Where? What the hell is going on around here?" That's the last show that I went to because I felt cheap. I felt used going to these things. That's how I felt. You know what I mean? I felt like a cow. I felt like herd. You got people telling you where to go and where to sit, and then, you know, uh, if you want to use the bathroom, it's some shitty bathroom that's a mile away. You know what I mean? And when you get back,
Mhm.
it's just the whole thing is really just makes you feel like all that matters is your money.
You know where I experienced that? At the fucking movie theaters. So I took my daughter to go see a movie, and there was like I was sitting in the line, and I don't, you know how I think it was AMC, I think it was. And
Mm.
so you can do the rewards, the AMC card, you know what I mean, that gets you into a different line. And so as I'm sitting there, I'm going, I'll be damned, man. These motherfuckers are dividing us everywhere. And they're getting us used to being divided by having us, the people that have the most money that can afford the biggest privilege to down to me who didn't have nothing. And so like you're watching these people go ahead of you and ahead of you, ahead of you. And so it's just sitting there and it's just fucking grating on your nerves and grating on your nerves. And I'm like, you know what? I bet you they're doing this shit on purpose to try to, you know what I mean? To fuel that because you don't have to do anything. You just set it up that way, and the people will do it on their own. Because I'm sitting there getting angry that I'm having to fucking wait and that I'm being, and so I was just like, holy shit, man, these people are fucking evil.
And sooner or later, like what you were saying earlier, sooner or later, people are going to be accustomed to it. It's just going to be an accustomary thing. And AMC knows that. Okay, so we piss some people off now, but in 20 years, they'll never even know. It'll just be a common thing of two different lines. And that division, that wedge between rich and poor will even be greater because the rich is trying to make it like we don't even want to be around these people. You know what I mean? We don't even want to see these people. We don't want to be around them. We want to be completely separate. And it's only right because we spend more money with you guys than they do. And of course, AMC is going to say, you know what? You're right. Let's cater to that.
And then the people that are in the lines, they just get, they're not gonna. At some point, the anger will either go greater or it will get infused out. And so now these people know their place.
Compliant.
Now you know your place. You ain't got the money. Sit down and shut up.
That's right. If you want to be over here in this line, do better in life. That's what they'll tell you. You have the opportunity. This is America. You can be anything that you want to be. If you don't like being in the poor line, then join us over here in the rich line. But they're not going to tell you that they're going to do everything that they can do to stop you. That's what they're not going to tell you.
We the people are the money. That's for sure. and so how do you now we can combat this because you vote with your wallet, right? You vote with your wallet. So if you vote with your wallet, like people say, right? A lot of people say this, stop supporting these companies. Stop spending your money on these things. It's a lot easier said than done. All
Mhm.
right, because now we've become used to convenience, the convenience of everything, right? That's how they get us on everything, on convenience and being able to do things faster and easier. And so, in order for us to do that, a lot of times we'll just, check yes on the terms of service and not even bother to look at it because, this is going to be such a great service to me that I'm willing to not think about any of these other things that I've just given up, by accepting, the terms and service of this platform. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's you you really have to be willing to put your money where your mouth is, right? So that means no Amazon. That means no grocery store. Basically, start growing your own stuff, and try to wean yourself off this centralized system as you can, because you can't just. I mean, it's like going cold turkey on fucking opiates, right? You're gonna go through with some withdrawals, so you can't just
Well,
you
of
can't just
course,
stop.
it's baby steps, taking it in moderation and slowly altering your life. Slow the fuck down. That's the main thing. They've sped us up so much that we feel like we don't have time for anything. And this is why we go to Amazon. This is why we do the things that we do, because it's so efficient, so easy. It's cheap and it's delivered right to my door. But this is the problem. What I'm trying to get Americans to do is slow down, man. Stop worrying about your game shows and your sports and start investing time in your community, right? What that looks like is start producing American products again. Start building things in your garage and turn your garage or your front yard into its own storefront. Start producing things in your community so other people can come to you and buy things from you versus Amazon. We don't produce anything anymore. This is why America is quickly going to fall and collapse, because all, like we were talking a couple weeks ago about BRICS, these other countries that are joining BRICS, because that's their main thing is what does America do? Y'all don't do shit but tear shit up.
Yeah, yeah.
You're buying everything from us now. And when you look at everything that we buy, it comes from China, Korea, Vietnam. All companies have outsourced. We can't even get customer support to an American company anymore without talking to somebody in India, and can't even understand what this person is saying, right? And here in uh the social climate that we're in, you don't want to be offensive and tell the people. So now you feel some kind of way to tell the guy, listen, I really don't understand what the hell you're saying. You got to sit there and put up with it. This is all by everything is exported. What does America do? What do we do?
Nothing. Well, China's doing exactly what we did. We used China for cheap labor, right? As we were becoming, economically dominant, right? We were coming out of the World War II. We're dominating economically. So we outsourced all of our labor, to China, which became they became more of a middle class heavy society because of that. Now they have gone from being the producers to the consumers, so now they've got the money to buy things now. Our middle class is shrinking, right? It's going away. So, our need for goods and cheap goods from them, or cheap labor from them, is going away. And so now that's why China is starting to do what we did over in South Africa or in Africa, right?
Right.
They're going to use them for cheap labor to produce for the consumers and so they can become like we were. They're basically doing the same. We're switching positions.
Yeah. Well, China's becoming a middleman now, and that's all they're doing is they're having their work produced at a cheaper rate than what they were doing it. So now all they got to do is sit back and collect half of what they were making before. You see what I'm saying? So it's subcontracting. As me as a contractor, I don't want to build a wall, but I'm getting paid $5,000 to build this wall. So I'll go pay somebody 2,500 to come build it. I make 2,500 just to sit there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out something. I think that the NAFTA thing and all the outsourcing and all that shit was a bad idea from the gate. You should have just figured out a way to make it work here and keep your factories and everything going here, and so you don't make as much money, right?
Corporate greed.
Yep, corporate greed. You see that it's not sustainable to be the part of a world economy. It's just not. I mean, anything that big, right? Anything at scale just isn't. I you lose so much, you know.
Mm.
It's not.
Jeff Bezos' punk ass was sitting in his mother's basement, devising a way, creating Amazon, right? His punk ass. And now this guy is one of the richest men in the world, has a ship the size or I think bigger than the Titanic, when he could be solving 80% of the problems in America. But he would rather build a ship the size of the Titanic that people in another country have to take apart their 300-year-old bridge to get his ship out. You know what I mean? So this is the type of narcissism that America produces. And a Jeff Bezos, and we'll keep feeding him. I see Amazon trucks out all day, every day. We keep feeding this narcissism.
Well, with the economy and the slowdown that it's in, and then also the unemployment which is rising. We talked about that too. The last one, I think, which was the Fed rates and how they're using those to can boost up the unemployment, however they figure that shit out. And so not I mean, there's Amazon warehouses, fulfillment centers that are shutting down because people aren't spending like they were. And so there's going to be a problem there too. I think we're just then, who knows? We'll see. Stop I just try I if I were to give some advice, I would say to people, what's the one thing you can do to start trying to get yourself unplugged from this system? Start out by growing your own food. If you can grow your own food, start that way. Then you see, and you can start to see how, I don't, because saying to disconnect from a centralized system sounds so much simpler than it actually is. And so you have to start. And the quickest way to start is to plant some shit and start growing your own food and realizing that you can sustain yourself. And then from there, you'll get the confidence to start thinking outside of the box even further.
And if you don't have the confidence to do that, go find a farmer's market. Go find your local farmer's market. These are local people in your community that are farming. Go find a farmer's market and start hanging around with those people. Start talking to them. Maybe you can go by the farm and check things out. But
Volunteer
right.
volunteer your time to go. You want to learn about, how to grow your own food, but you just don't know where to start, but you would love to be able to go and help and to learn at the same time.
And this is just what we have to start doing, Americans, is just getting involved with our community, making sure that the money that we're working and producing goes back into our community, not relying on one person who's going to go up to your capital and say, okay, we're going to make sure money goes into this community. It's making sure that you put your money back into the community. Here I am, a nonprofit. Sean is a nonprofit. We're both nonprofit founders in our community, and yet it's so hard to raise $10 from somebody. But yet that person will go on Amazon. Perfect example. I Uber again, like I say, I'll go out for 2 weeks and won't get one tip, Sean. I took somebody all the way, it's been several times, all the way from Tampa to Orlando, which is about an hour and a half trip, and won't even get a tip for it.
Mm.
but yet these people will be quick to jump on an Amazon app and spend $100 with them, you know, and that money goes to China. It goes to Bezos and it goes to China. Don't go to your community.
Mm-mm. And that's another thing, you know, we can talk all day long about how, we can do this or do that. How many people know who's in your community? How many people out there have actually reached out to somebody and, said, "Hey, let's trade some, I'm growing this year. How about you grow some more of this and then we can trade?" You know, Ow, getting to know the people in your community, that's where it starts. And that's a hard thing to do, to just, because we've been so conditioned to stay within our lanes, right? Our circle. Stay within your, you mind your own fucking business. Don't bother people. And so it's made it difficult to even have the, I wouldn't say courage, but I mean, I guess in a lot of ways it could be courage to, go and reach out to people and say hi to people you don't know. That's a lot harder than it seems.
So we have from Dame Brain Damage Taylor says, can't because the soil and the water is tainted due to chemtrails, and that may be true, but you can always have your soil tested. You can have your soil tested, see how fertile your soil is. You can get nutrients to put in your ground. There are ways you can grow hydroponically. You know, at one point, I think when I was with my ex, we had a townhouse and we were growing. She was growing things right in the kitchen, potatoes, tomatoes, right in the kitchen with ultraviolet light. We had things out on the porch. I would have to go out each morning and take the larger items and set them out in the sun in the little backyard that we had, but the fruit was good. The food was good. So it can be done. And I think what Sean and I are both trying to say is just however that looks in your community, just stop worrying about your shows, stop being in the house, just start going out a little bit and introducing yourself back to the world, man, and your community and being nice to people in the community, finding out what your community needs, what it lacks. Maybe you can start a nonprofit, covering those. I urge Americans to start town hall meetings in their communities. Just go to your county building and find a space, rent that space out, and have a get together, a town hall get together, and see where your community stands on certain topics. It's like get out and start doing something, man. And stop relying on these politicians because they're not going to do shit.
Mm-mm. Nope. And and you made a really good point there. If it doesn't exist and you want it, create it. Don't sit around and wait for the miracle to happen. Be the miracle.
Be a leader. That's what we lack in America, man, is leadership. Bunch of emotional people running around crying, "Oh, you did this, man, and I don't like this, and I want it changed, and I want you to do this, and this isn't fair." And it's like, shut the fuck up. Do it yourself.
Doing shit fair. Nothing's fair. If you're looking for fairness, I don't know, man. You have to go to a different planet because this one is not about fairness. It's you even look at how when we started, people when they, pioneer days when they were coming across, trying to get across from the Indians, man, them were savage days. That wasn't that long ago. We haven't been civilized for that long, and we're always itching looking for conflict. That's why, and all these systems that we're a part of are all narcissistic systems that were built by narcissistic people. That's why we're so susceptible to being what's the word I'm looking for, infiltrated by a narcissist.
Indoctrinated, yo.
All the systems are inherently that way. So there's always you just got to be aware, man. Self-awareness and how you're showing up in the world is really where you need to be focusing. on what you can do to change the situation, your situation.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's getting late, man. I got to
Yep.
get this day started. I know you got your little girl probably got up running around.
Yeah, she almost. Well, the little boy, the dog is up running around going, it's time to eat, Dad.
Yeah,
the
it is
the
for me
the
too.
my daughter's gonna be up here shortly. As soon as I feed him, she'll pop her head up.
But this is was a great discussion again. A lot of awareness for Americans to really consider and just self-reflect. Um, eh, just like you were saying, we're in control until we're not. We're civilized until we're not, and then we quickly realized when pride and ego gets in the way how uncivilized and animalistic we can be. So we run around all day every day acting like we're civilized people until we're inflicted upon. And so it's just understanding that, because so many Americans do that, we're so reactive to such silly things, and it's causing such trauma in our life that it changes our life and alters it. And it takes us 20 years to realize that, because we have a government that's in place that's not going to teach us that. They're going to expound upon that and use us in that. They profit from our emotional distraught. So peace be unto you, Americans, and let's do better, man.
Absolutely. Let's do better, because we can all do better. We can all do better. So tell them where they can find you, Thomas.
So this is Thomas FreeMe. Again, this is the Thomas FreeMe TV and podcast show. You can find me on all platforms, but easily you could just Google Thomas FreeMe. But more importantly, I'm a nonprofit founder, and that is www.cominghomecoalition.com. Here in the Tampa Bay area, working on recidivism. I'm going into prisons, mentorship, life coaching. I deal with stress management within the poor community. My hands are full, and got a lot going on. So I'm readily available to be reached out to at any time on social media. You can find me. Just reach out to me and just say, "Hey, man, I got an issue," and I'll listen to you. Because I know us Americans, it's about growth, and this is my thing: is just let it go, let go of your pride, your ego. Say, you know what, I have been toxic, and I want to change that, and everything changes. So that's who I am.
All right, all right. And I'm Sean Dustin. And you know what, man? We all have work to do. Nobody's fixed. Nobody's fixed. Life is a learning journey. And if you say that you're done learning, then I would assume that you're dead, because it doesn't stop. The lessons continue. They continue. They continue. We grow. We evolve. And if you're not evolving, if you're the same person you were last year, you're probably not doing it right.
Mm.
Um, so my name's Sean Dustin, and I host the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. And you can find me at SeanDustin.com. That's where all my content lives, and the social media, all the places that I'm at, you can get from over there. So, and we were going to do this every week, but it gets a little bit difficult. So we're going to do it as we're available. I think, the conversations are important to have, and, may not be able having them every week, but when we do, we'll definitely continue with them live, and then I'll post them on my podcast as well. So in audio format.
Yeah, it's been a hectic couple weeks. It's slowing down a little bit, but it'll speed back up here again soon. So yeah, we do it when we can. I'd like to be every week, and we'll try to make it every week. But like for the past 2 weeks with Easter, and then just a hectic week for me last week. You know,
Yeah, last week would have been difficult for me as well. Just because of the injuries that I'm received and am dealing with at this point. Which at some
you've
point,
accumulated, yeah.
well, I will talk about those. But right now, it's just not the right time to be talking about them.
We love you guys, man. Be
Until
your
next
best self.
time, keep it 100. Stay true to yourself. because everything else is just noise. Catch you guys later.
Stay safe, people. We love you.